So now we are going to start with the JavaScript part of the project. So for that we need to use the script.js file. Inside of that file, first we need to get the reference of this particular heading. So it is actually a class because we have specified a class selector inside this particular h1 element, which is a heading. So we need to actually use here a query selector method. So first I'm going to here use the const, which is the heading, and it is actually going to equal to document dot query selector. Then we need to specify the type of the selector. So it is actually a heading, so we need to specify the type of the selector along with its dot because it is a class selector, so we need to specify the dot as well. Alright, once we get the heading inside this particular variable, which is the heading, now we need to split this entire heading into the variable. So we need to split this text into array of characters. So for that I'm going to store this inside the variable. So const text is equal to, and then I'm going to use here a heading dot, and it is actually going to be like text content. So the content of the heading will be stored inside this text variable, and after that we need to here use the another variable which is like const alpha, and I'm going to actually use here a text dot. So in order to separate this entire text into character, so I'm going to use here a split function. So we need to split it each and every character. Now this particular will be treated as an array of the characters, and after that we need to actually use the heading dot and its text content. We need to set its text content to an empty string. So why we actually setting the text content to empty? Now you can see if I control save it, everything is actually removed from the web page. Okay, if I refresh it, nothing will be happen. If I just simply comment out these particular lines of the code, save it, then everything will be back here. So right now I control save it, you will see the blank white screen. So we actually set the heading dot text content to empty string so that we can actually animate each and individual character and display it inside this particular heading element, which is the HTML element. Alright, now we need to add the span tag. Remember, we have used the span style inside the style.css, means we have specified the style inside this span tag. So we need to add a span tag to each and every character of the JavaScript. This is the final version of the application. So we need to wrap this entire character inside the span element. So to do that, we need to use the for loop, because if we do it manually, it will be a very long running task, or you can say that the time consuming task. So that is the reason we need to here use the loop. So I'm going to use here a traditional for loop. So the length is actually going to alpha. So like alpha variable value, according to the length of this alpha value, the variable will be, means the loop will be executed, not the variable, the loop will be executed. Then we need to update the inner HTML of the heading is equal to, then I will be use here a short syntax which is initializing and also adding the values. So here we need to use the span tag, span, and also we need a closing span. So we need to wrap this inside the double quotes. Okay, and also we need to remove this one, and also we need to add here a span inside this double quotes like this one, and then we need to terminate that. Alright, and in order to avoid the error, we need to use the concatenation, and in between these we need to provide the alpha, because according to the value of the alpha, that is alpha, and we need to provide the array brackets, and according to the value of the I variable, it is going to add the span tag to each and every character of the JavaScript. Now you can see the color is back, but still the text is not visible. Now we have set the span tag to each and every character of the JavaScript text. It's time to animate it. So for the animation, we need to here use the count variable. So this will be used to keep track of the character. So that is why this variable will be used. Then we need another variable which is the timer. So I'm actually using here a let variable. That is the reason, because this is going to update multiple times. So I'm going to call the set interval function because we want to animate after a small delay. So here we need to call the another function which is the on arrival. So I name this function as on arrival, and then we need to call this particular function 50, means after every 50 milliseconds we need to call this on arrival function. Now it's time to specify this on arrival function. So on arrival, inside of this on arrival function, first we need to create the span element. So const, then we need to create the span, which is the name of the variable, then heading dot query selector. Now we have multiple HTML elements because right now this JavaScript, so I'm using the final version of the application to actually demonstrate some concepts. So now it has more than one character, means it has more than one because it is not treated as a single, it has group of characters because the span tag is added to each and every character of this particular text. So that is the reason we have used here a query selector all function. So what we want to select, we actually want to select the all span elements, but according to the value of the count. Alright, so on the first time it is actually 0, then this Java will be selected and will be animated, then on the second time the A will be animated, and the third time the V will be animated, and this process will continue until we reach the end of the text. Alright, and after doing that we need to add the CSS. So for that we use the class list, because we also need a class list. We need to add the CSS, which is the fade. So for that we need to use here a fade. So coming back to the other version of the application, so here we need to add the fade. Alright, and then we need to also increment the counter. If I control save it, right now you can see we get only the J character because we didn't increment the counter variable. So if I increment the counter here like ++, terminate it. Now if I refresh it, you can see now we are successfully able to animate the text, which is JavaScript. If I refresh it, you can see now we have refreshed it. Now if I come back to the version, if I enter here like DinoCode Academy, control save it, and now you can see we are now successfully able to animate the DinoCode Academy as well. It is actually a long text. So like here if I use it, and you can see we are successfully able to animate the DinoCode Academy as well. Or I can just simply go with the JavaScript. Alright, so this is our text animation project. So now finally this project is completed. So first we have done here, we have first to get the reference of the heading, which is this particular JavaScript heading, means the text. After that we actually initialize into this text variable so that we can use this text variable to split the text into the array of characters inside the alpha. Then with the use of the loop we added a span tag to each and every character of the text, and after that we add the logic for the animation purpose, which is we have used the count variable, we have used the set interval, initialize it to the timer variable, then every time we call this particular function after every 50 milliseconds. Okay, so that marks the completion of the project for this text animation. So if you like this module, then please leave your review, because your review definitely going to help me to reach more students, and also it motivates me to create more awesome courses like this. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.